This is Health Unfiltered, the podcast where we cut through the bullshit and get honest about fitness, nutrition, and mental wellness. This episode is brought to you by The Balanced Body and Mind, a weekly planner and daily journal for building better habits. It focuses on the 5 key areas for optimal health: hydration, fitness, mental wellness, healthy eating, and sleep. By focusing on these 5 key areas, you can improve your overall health and start enjoying your life again. It includes a breakdown of these concepts so you know why they're important. It also has a section on how to use this journal, including sample pages so you know how it's intended. It still provides the flexibility so you can do and use it however you need. This journal includes 6 months of weekly planning and daily journaling so you can get your fucking shit together and live your best life. It's available now on Amazon. Balanced Body and Mind, a weekly planner and daily journal for building better habits. Stop messing around and buy it now. Benjamin, welcome. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. It's a pleasure to have you on. I know we have a lot of things in common. I'm excited to get into that today. Brandon, our co-host, may be joining us. We'll see if he hops on or not. So in this episode, we'll be discussing the ultimate health model. And since it's still World Carnivore Month, I'd like to do an update. Me and Brandon were both participating in the Carnivore Challenge this month, trying to eat only animal products and kind of jumpstart our health for the year. But before we get into all that, I'd love to learn more about you, where you grew up and how you got to where you are now. So would you mind filling us in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in LA, Santa Monica, and lived there till I was about 10 or so. Then moved up to Northern California with my mom and my sisters, and lived here, for the next till I was graduated high school in um, 87. Then I went to Humboldt State and was there for probably a year, studied science, liked science a lot, meteorology, sociology, biology, and then left college in like 88. And then I went to clean carpets for a while. So, I was still young. And then my friend said, "Hey, you want to buy my auto detailing business?" And I'm like, okay. I knew nothing about cleaning cars. And
Yeah.
the first car I did, the guy was not too happy. Yeah, I think he told me to go away or something. I don't know. He wasn't going to pay me. Wasn't good.
Oh man.
It wasn't good. So I've been doing that for 31 years now. Um, I've done like 5,000 cars, so I'm pretty much expert at cleaning cars. And
Mm,
so then I was always interested in health. And ever since I was a kid, I'd ask questions about health. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? And my dad would always get mad at me and said, "Why are you asking all these questions?" And I'm like, "Do you want me to answer it, or are you gonna?" Because I'd answer the question for myself because I was curious. I was 10 years
yeah.
old, and why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? There's got to be a reason.
Right.
And so I was always asking these questions. And so, like I said, my dad would get kind of irritated with me. And fast forward, till I'm got I don't know 10 years ago, 12 years ago, my sister, one of my sisters was diagnosed with cancer. I'm like, oh, that's not good. And my mom was my real mom, who has since passed away, and it was diagnosed like in '85, but I knew nothing about it. I was a kid. I was like, oh, okay, it's genetic, and man, that sucks, and that's the way it goes. And they gave her treatment.
Yeah.
She was okay. Okay,
That's
good.
what we're told
And
anyways.
so yeah, yeah. And so then in 2000, like I think it was eight, my sister got, and I thought, okay, same thing. This is not good. It's probably genetic, and nothing we can do about it. 2012, she passed away, and then I started thinking, really, this is not cool. I'm like, let's figure this out. So I dug into the literature, read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles. So for 10 years, I studied. 10 years, trying to figure
Wow.
things out and what I would do is I would ask myself questions. I go, okay, let's start from the premise that everything's perfect. The universe is perfect. Our bodies are perfect. So I always start with that premise, whoever made us, whatever made us, probably we weren't designed to break down like that. So there's got to be fail-safe mechanisms in place to protect things. And
Hmm.
so I would start with that premise, and then I would kind of work my way backwards. Okay, so cancer, diabetes. Let's just say diabetes. Okay, diabetes means an elevated level of blood sugar in the blood. Why is that? Okay, what's going on? Why is it happening? Oh, I'm eating too much sugar. The body's trying to protect itself. So it becomes insulin resistance, which Bart says, and I'm going to quote him, there's no such thing as insulin resistance. It's not a physiological state. They can't measure it. So I'm going to say becomes less sensitive to insulin
Yeah.
for a reason. For a reason. I go, oh, okay. So when I was studying for 10 years, I would put all these pieces together and go, okay, breathing. Why is breathing important? Okay, why is water important? Why is sleep important? Why is food? Whatever. I thought all these things probably come together in a
Mm.
synergistic whole to make everything work. And so I studied for 10 years, working on this model for 10 years. My first drafts were, I have them saved because they're mementos, but the first drafts were completely different, different
Yeah.
characters on there, all this. And so I was going to become a health coach because how can I help people? My friend, become a health coach. And I started taking the health coaching classes at this company. I'm like, nah, I don't want to be a coach. I don't want to. I
Mm.
want to be more of an educator or a teacher. I don't want to say, hey, Johnny, eat one less cookie tomorrow. Don't
Right.
drink that soda. Bad, bad, bad. Come on. I'm not interested in that. So my president, why you write a book? I said, okay, I'll write a book. Oh, oh my Lord. What was I thinking? I'm glad I was naive. So I'm just going to write a book. Everyone's going to love it. I'm making $1 million.
Right.
No, no. So the first person I used, being not knowing nothing about this, I go online and I go to one of those places. They will write your book for $500. Well, great, cool, right? So I started talking to them for hours on end about what we can discuss. All the knowledge and what's going to go in the book, and had all these conversations so they could get the information. And so then they wrote a sample chapter, and it looked like a third grader wrote it, Josh. I was
Oh
like,
man.
I said, no. I said, you can't write. They said, hey, Ben, can we is there something to do to fix this? And I said, you can't write. I said, you can't fix anything because you can't write. And I said, I want my money back. And so I got my money back. Went to a professional ghostwriter.
Hmm.
Professional. Had 30
Right.
years experience and spent, I think, $7,000 with her. She couldn't write.
Oh.
We're both authors, so she couldn't write, Josh. And so she wrote me some chapters. They were way too scientific, and I liked it. I'm
Mm.
like, but I knew something was wrong. I told my mom, I said, Mom, there's something. My stepmom, I said, there's something not right about this. It sounds just too much facts or something. Then I got another ghostwriter who could write. She wrote the foundation of the book, but ghostwriters are not you. And so anyone that has a ghostwriter write their book, you have a hard time selling it because it's kind of stale and kind of sterile because it's not your voice. So
Yeah.
she wrote it, but she knew nothing about what I was talking about. Even when I talked for hours on end about the breathing, the sleeping, it went right over her head. So she couldn't incorporate it into the book. So I had to rewrite the whole book. And yeah, because she wrote, it was okay, but it was still too scientific. And I thought to myself, one day I said, fuck it. Excuse my language, I hope it's okay. And I
Yeah, it's all
said,
good.
I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna write this thing, and I don't care if I sell one copy. I'm gonna write it like I want to write it, and in a way that is entertaining, engaging, funny. And so I just started writing. I said, so let's talk about breathing now. Did you know, when you breathe through your mouth, you're losing your, whatever I said in there, you're actually not getting oxygen? How about them apples or whatever? Because I was kind of like talking, you've read some of it. I talk conversationally,
Yeah.
like a friend talking to a friend. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
that's screw it. That's how I write it. And so I wrote it like that. And then their team was going to edit it, but they did a horrible job editing it. So I find another editor who obviously did a great job because he read some of it. And I've gotten I won an award with the book from Literary Titan. Yeah, I've won an award.
Oh,
I
that's
got
great.
a silver award instead of I didn't get gold, but I got silver. I got 4.9 stars on Amazon. Um, most of them are 5-star reviews. It's endorsed by doctors. One of the top doctors in the country, fertility doctors, endorsed it. He was on my podcast. My point is, I wrote a good book. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Then I write it thinking everyone's going to read it. I was like, okay, this book,
Mm,
since it's so different, and it is, you've read it, and I thought, okay, I'm not saying eat less, move more bullshit. I'm not saying this, calories matter. I'm saying something completely different, and I have a holistic framework for getting healthy. So I thought one person would read it and tell all their friends and go, oh shit, you got to read
right.
Ben's book. This is going to change your life. So I thought it would take off like that. And no, it didn't work that way because I thought since my book was different and if it was the same as every other book, I could see how it kind of get lost in the milieu. But since it's so different, I thought people would be shy from the rooftops going, dude, you got to check out this book. And people do love my book, but the word of mouth does not spread like that. And
Yeah.
so I got a publicist, and that was a lot of money, which did me okay. But then I said, you know what, I need to do something different. So now I've just been, busting my butt, trying to get my name out there, and slowly but surely. But it's just a long process. And if I would have known it'd be this difficult, I probably would have never done it. So I'm glad nobody told me how hard this is.
You have nobody to blame but yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. So the name of your book is Why Are You Sick? How to Reclaim Your Health with the Ultimate Health Model, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what is the ultimate health model?
So the ultimate health model is a basic framework, holistic framework of why you're sick. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's that
Yeah.
simple. It really is that simple. And that's what I kind of the epiphany I came to because you hear that inflammation, chronic inflammation, is at the root cause of all diseases, this and that. I'm like, oh, okay. And they say that, you heard the term chronic oxidative stress on the
Yep.
cells, mitochondrial dysfunction. So what I would do is I would relate all of them together. I go, does mitochondrial dysfunction cause chronic inflammation? And I put it into Google. And I wouldn't just look at Google. I'd read a bunch of articles on it, and they're like, yeah, this is this. So then I put them together. So then I thought, okay, so now I have the 5 basics of the cellular functions that are going on causing disease. Period, all of them. And so in the center, are you gonna put it up there, or people see it? It's probably better if they see it.
What's that? The
The Ultimate Health Model. You go to ultimatehealthmodel.com. Oh, they can't see it anyway because they're probably listening to a podcast. So okay, well I don't know if this is this on YouTube too or just on podcast.
yeah, it's a video also.
Okay, so basically it's a framework that a blueprint that you live your life by. Okay, so there's a red side and a green side. Now, on the red side are bad factors, negative factors that contribute to chronic disease. On the green side, there are factors that contribute to optimum health. Now,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of factors on the red side that contribute to disease are stress, chronic stress, bad food, processed food, sugar, not getting enough sleep, not getting quality sleep. All those things go up the framework into the circles. And those circles are the mitochondrial function, the immune system, suppression or boosting the immune system, dehydration, chronic dehydration or optimal hydration,
Mm-hmm.
chronic inflammation or reduced chronic inflammation, and oxidative stress on the cells is the middle one. So on the red side, it will be dysfunctional mitochondria, right? Because you're causing dysfunction to them with all those bad factors, lifestyle factors. There you go.
There it is.
And the, huh?
There it is.
Okay, so I can't see it on my side, but that's okay. Anyway, so and then the immune system suppression happens from chronic mitochondrial dysfunction and chronic dehydration because they all go together. There you go. They all go together and they're all happening instantaneously. So if you scroll down, you'll see the model. They're all happening instantaneously all the time. So it's not one, it's not a domino effect where you have mitochondrial dysfunction and then you have,
About the
uh,
model.
no, you gotta go to another page, the main page, I believe. No, you'll
That
see it. I don't
the
think that's the
homepage.
model. Yeah. Yeah, it's a picture of a model with those cartoon. There you go. Now go down. There you go. So that's the optimum health one, and there's a disease one. I don't know if they can blow it up. So the the factors are things you want to do. You
There it
get
is.
yeah, you get sleep. So you want to start? You want to talk about the red one first? The green? Okay, it's the red one. The
Yeah.
factors, the bad factors, stress, bad food, processed food, sugar, not getting enough
Mm-hmm.
sleep, not exercising, eating, frequent eating, not intermittent fasting, all the things on there. The
Yeah.
mineral deficiencies, drinking destructured, demineralized water, all those things cause those circles to go round and round and round. And then they ultimately cause chronic cellular oxidative stress, which causes more chronic dehydration and more
Mm.
inflammation. It's just a constant cycle,
Yeah.
a wheel you've got to get off of. And that chronic disease box
Definitely.
is just that. So you could put, let's just put Crohn's disease in there, or let's put migraine headache. You could put obesity, you could put any condition you want in there, period, and use it as a framework. So let's say someone has arthritis. All they do is
Mm-hmm.
put arthritis in that top box. They put it on their fridge and they use it as a framework. And the other side is the green side. And those are the things you want to do to help alleviate your symptoms and help to feel better. So that's what this framework is. It's a blueprint that has put all these things together that it's all been segmented for the last 50, 100, whatever years. And I put it all together in one puzzle
Yeah.
to make it so a 10-year-old could understand it.
That's really great. I really love how you laid it out. What are some actionable steps that listeners can apply immediately to start changing their health?
You keep your mouth shut at all costs, unless you're talking like we are or eating. Keep your mouth shut because mouth breathing contributes to inflammation, period.
Mm.
At night, your mouth's open, you're snoring. Snoring is not your friend. It's not funny. Snoring is
Yeah.
not good. Keeping your mouth shut at night is critical. You want to tape your mouth shut at night with those mouth breathing strips. You can get them on my website there. If you see my website on my recommendations page, we have a lot of things that we recommend because we use them ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, you want to train your mouth to stay shut during the day the best you can. If you eat a lot of carbs, then your nose might be stuffed up, but you have to breathe through your mouth. So the more
Mm.
you breathe through your mouth, the less you can breathe through your nose
How does eating carbs contribute to that stuffiness?
because it causes inflammation,
Mm.
right? So eating the carbs causes all those things on the red side to go round and round, processed carbs. if you're causing dehydration, right, then it's the body's
Yep.
gonna, your nose is gonna run because it's trying to hydrate your nose or add moisture to it. The mouth breathing causes inflammation, and inflammation causes hypoxia, or basically lack of oxygen in the cells. That causes, inflammatory markers to be raised, interleukin 5 or 6. I don't know the numbers on those, but my point is that, and so nose, if your nose is stuff, it's inflammation, and the nose, the nasal passages are swelled. Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Also, you're protecting your mouth, your throat, and your lungs. So think of your lungs as super delicate. When you mouth breathe, all that air is going in without being filtered first and prepared for the lungs.
Condition.
So your nose conditions the air, humidifies the air, sterilizes
Mm-hmm.
the air, pressurizes the air. It's preparing the air for the delicate lungs. When you mouth breathe, you get none of those effects. So your sore throat's because you're mouth breathing, not because of it. Can be contributed to it. Period.
Right.
Your nose is a filter. Period. It's the most advanced filter known to man. We haven't figured anything out that amazing yet. So yeah, nose breathing is probably, and people go, oh, that doesn't matter. Well, try it. You tell me if it matters or not. So nose breathing is critical. Period. For your health. And you're getting more
Definitely.
oxygen when you breathe through your nose. It sounds counterintuitive, but you're actually getting more oxygen, not less. Because,
Yeah.
like I write in the book, your body needs a level of carbon dioxide in the blood to help release the oxygen from the red blood cells. So it's like a bus. So on my Instagram, I have this kind of cute, Instagram reel. So where we're talking about this, oxygen is attached to the red blood cells like passengers on a bus. So when you have no carbon dioxide, the oxygen doesn't want to leave the bus. But when the
Mm.
carbon dioxide's there, it's like bullies going, get off the bus, dude, I want to get on. And so they kick them off the bus and they go to their destination, the cells.
Mm. Where
When
it's
you
needed.
mouth, where it's needed, when you mouth breathe, you release too much carbon dioxide, the oxygen stays stuck on the bus and you become hypoxic. And then that
Mm.
creates inflammation, which creates, then you just got to look at the model. It's all there, which creates chronic dehydration, which causes immune system suppression, which causes mitochondrial dysfunction. That's why this model is really important for medical professionals too, to really understand, because it's going to really kind of help them to, what's the word, to another framework for their patients to really understand what's going on. And I'm not saying this model is going to cure everything. I'm not saying it's a cure of diabetes, but sure going to help with everything to help you get off
Definitely.
some of your to get off some of your medications. But it's a way to empower yourself to take control of your own health and understand why. What's my book say? Why are you sick? Now you know why
Yeah.
you are sick.
It's definitely not the lack of pharmaceutical medications, as your
No,
doctor might lead you to believe. It's really unfortunate the medical system in the United States and how it's just so focused on medications and surgeries when they don't really focus on the root cause of these issues. I
no,
think
they
that's what
don't.
your book really gets at.
Yeah, it gets at that, and it's to me, I think it's kind of almost absurd. It's like, being a detailer for 30 years. That's meant like me not knowing how to wax a car. What? How do you not know how to
Mm,
wax a car when that's what you do for a living? So you're telling me you know
right.
nothing about nutrition, or you know nothing about mechanisms when that's what you do for a living? I don't even, it doesn't even register with me how it's like, it's absurd. And a doctor, I heard say that, and he's a doctor, and he said, lies I taught in medical school, his book, and he's a
Yeah.
carnivore now. Yeah, I don't want to mention his name. Well, can I mention his name?
Yeah, please.
Robert Lufkin. And
Hmm.
yeah, he's along the lines of Ken Berry. He's a really smart guy. And he says, lies I taught in medical school. And he said, one of the things he said, I remember on his video, he said, when he was in school, his teacher told him that all right, 50% of what I'm telling you right now is going to be wrong. We just don't know what 50%. I thought that's pretty profound. 50% of what
Wow.
I'm teaching is wrong. We just don't know what 50%. And
It's wild.
yeah, that was to me was incredible. I was like, oh shoot, and so for me, I was like, yeah, the body doesn't need your help at all. You're just hindering it. And
Hmm.
then it's trying to protect itself. And the inflammation, like I write in the book, it's like cutting your finger over and over again in the same place and getting a scab. And the body's like, dude, would you stop cutting my finger? Shit, what are you doing?
Right.
And you keep cutting it and cutting it, and there's a scab forms because the red blood cells go there, and the red blood cells go there to stop the bleeding. Then fibrogen and all these other things go there to stop the inflammation and start healing, right? And so
Hmm.
that's exactly what's happening inside in the blood vessels. It's like it's inflammation causing injury. So that'd be like saying cholesterol is causing your finger to get cut. It's causing,
Right.
right? So
I was gonna
it,
say that that reminds me of heart disease. You have the chronic inflammation, your arteries get inflamed, and then your body sends cholesterol to fix it. But the cholesterol didn't cause the inflammation. It's going to repair the damage that you did by eating, ultra processed foods and, starchy carbohydrates and,
and
the standard
and everything
American
else.
diet. Yeah.
Yeah, but everything else, and so that's like saying cholesterol caused your finger to get cut, and it's what your finger is, inflammation. It's like, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Back to what we were saying about heart disease. So why my model is so interesting and so dynamic is that talking on our phone right now is contributing to heart disease, right? Why? Because that's one of the sides on the red factors on the red side is one of the factors. And if by default it's on there and Crohn's disease is the top box, then it's contributing to Crohn's disease and migraine headaches and ulcerative colitis and multiple sclerosis and lupus and Alzheimer's. I'm not saying it caused it, but you
Yeah.
see how it has to contribute because it's all
Definitely
causing
contributing
inflammation,
factor.
right? So, and no one's talking about how the phones are causing heart disease or contributing to, no one knows,
Yeah.
because they don't have this framework that I have put together. And so that's why that's so important because you can look at them all together and go, okay, this does this. Okay, so now we know these all are connected. Let's work on what we can do. And so we're using our phones right now, right? We have to. So I'm on a carnivore diet like you. I don't eat carbs. I don't eat sugar. Um, I have structured water right here. This water thing I have device that structures water. I'm also wearing these red light glasses. So I do as many things on the green side. I go out every morning and walk every morning in the morning for get to sun gaze in the morning and at night. While other people are wearing sunglasses, I'm looking at the sun.
Yeah.
And then I walk the walking part. I walk a mile a day. I walk 30 miles a month because that's super important. You have to do these things. As many things on the
Hmm.
green side because the society we're living in today, there's certain things we can't avoid. I do have some potato chips occasionally, and I do have a couple of, a spoon of rice just because I'm bored. But I
Right.
don't I don't excess on those things. I know what to do.
Yeah.
And since I've done that, um, I went to my dentist the other day, and I had, what gum disease is, right?
Hmm.
And gum disease for people listening, that's a reflection of your overall body health, period.
Yeah.
So when you have gum disease, it's a mirror into the rest of your body's health, period. If you have inflammation in your gums, you probably have inflammation in your arteries. Now, I'm not saying for sure, but it's a mirror into the rest of your body.
An
So,
indicator. Yeah.
yeah. So a couple of years ago, I went to the dentist and I had pockets, like fours and fives or whatever, six, I don't know, fives. And you have to have a deep cleaning. I'm like, I don't want a deep cleaning. That's gonna suck. And then I had,
Right.
yeah, and then I had a cavity and some bacteria underneath the gum line. This lady was all scaring me and stuff. I'm like, oh God. So I was like, you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm gonna try something different. So I started using coconut oil every day as a
Mm,
oil pulling,
yeah.
right? Yeah. I
You
did that
squish
every
it around
day.
in your mouth for like a
Yeah.
minute.
No, for like 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not a minute, 15
Okay.
minutes. And it kills it's antibacterial. It
Hmm.
actually, what it does, it coagulates the cytoplasm of bacteria. That's what I've read. And so, anyway, I did that. And plus, I don't use any toothpaste. I use coconut oil and baking soda and peppermint oil. Because
Yeah.
if you look on my model, on the red side, man-made chemicals contribute to all diseases. Your
Mm,
toothpaste, your shampoo, your lip gloss, your deodorant, your sun, whatever it is,
right.
it doesn't matter. All of them contribute. Like I said, they don't cause anything. It's a cumulative thing over time. So people think, oh, they'll be on the carnivore diet and they're using pressed toothpaste. No, no. You don't want to do that because the preservatives and the chemicals and the additives and the toxin basically they're not. And you don't swallow the toothpaste, but it still gets in your mouth. It goes in the blood vessels in your mouth into your
Hmm.
bloodstream. The body's got
Yeah.
to detox it. And so, um, so anyway, so I went to the dentist, and then I went to a dentist last month, and he goes, I went to a different one, and they go, two, three, because they measure, because I know what when they're doing. I go two, three. I'm like, thank God, thank God. I'm like praying because I know what it means. And then I
Right.
go, and he was counting them off, and there was only twos and threes. I said, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I had fours and fives before." And he goes, "Well, you don't have any more." And I had a cavity before too that disappeared.
Wow.
I'm like, "Okay, that's it, carnivore. I don't care what anyone says. That's it, carnivore. That's it." And then the other
And
thing
that's
was
the only thing you did differently.
no, and then everything on my model,
Yeah.
too. I mean,
The
it's
oil
not the
pulling and
oil pulling, the structured water I'm drinking, the getting out in the
hmm.
morning sun and the evening sun, walking. I have a trainer I work out with 3 times a week, working out. Sleeping with my mouth shut or keeping my mouth shut while I'm sleeping. It's not just one thing that people
Yeah.
can do. It's all of them. And the other
It's a
remarkable thing,
holistic approach.
yeah, it's a whole list. And the other remarkable thing is I went to the eye doctor
Hmm.
and I'm wearing glasses right now. These are prescription red light too, but the I have 20/30 vision with my glasses on, maybe 20/20. I don't know exactly, right? And so I went there and I had my glasses on, I was doing their test, and they're measuring my, AEI, right? On the chart. And I'm like, oh, what's that? 20/30, 20/20? Oh, that's 20/15. I'm like, 20/15? How in the heck did that happen? I'm like, that
Right.
you can barely correct that with a prescription and doctors, ophthalmology. I don't know. I think they can correct it to that, but they don't try. They only go to 20/20. I'm like,
Hmm.
my vision got better,
So 2015 is better than 2020? Wow.
and I'm
It's really
55.
incredible
I'm
how many
55.
different things can improve just by, changing, making these simple changes in your
Everything,
lifestyle.
everything. I mean, that's what people. It's just, and like I said, carnivore diet's great. Don't I'm on it, right? But they need the addition of those other things on my model that. And so if someone's still, gaining weight, or they still have arthritis, or they're fatigued, if they look at my model, they understand my model in my book and whatever, they can understand some other factors that might be contributing that they're not thinking about. Because
Hmm.
the sun is so important. The sun is, well, as you know, it's so the sun in the morning, in the morning, very in the morning and at night actually does more to build your microbiome in your gut. And there's more than one microbiome, like I write in my book. It's in your skin, it's in your eyes, it's in your blood vessels, it's in your heart, it's in your brain, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But it does more to build the microbiome of your whole body than your diet and exercise combined.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so people talk about, oh, I gotta eat the, plant-based diet and this and that to get a diversified microbiome. It's not, and also diversity, you can have diversity by eating a carnivore diet. They've done studies on that. Plus
Hmm.
your microbiome can change from day to day. If you like,
Yeah.
if I all of a sudden start eating a bunch of plants, my microbiome would obviously change overnight. And so the sun, not to mention, does that. It lowers the blood pressure, it lowers cholesterol levels. It retinol, you've heard the term retinol for vitamin A. Why do they
Yeah.
call it? Always wonder why they call it retinol. Retina, your eye. So
Yeah.
every hormone is the precursor to every hormone is in sunlight. All information is in light. So for
Hmm.
the people listening, understand that all information is stored in electromagnetic energy. So light, infrared light, ultraviolet light, all that's where all information is. That's all it is. It's stored in light or in light. It's stored in water. So think of it like this. It comes from light, all information from the universe, everything is in light, and it gets stored in water. That's what structured water is. It's storing the information. When you destructure your water, you can't store as much information.
Yeah, I'd like to learn more about structured water. What what exactly is that and how do you make it?
Yeah, so structured water is the water that's naturally found in nature and in your body. Your body,
Hmm.
can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Your body structures water. That's one of its main jobs, is to structure water. So your heart, when it pumps, it's not pumping like this, it's pumping like this. It's like the muscles are connected in bands and they turn like this, spinning
Hmm.
it. So what structures water is a vortex, right? So when
Yeah.
water goes like this, imagine what it's doing in nature. It's going like this, gently side to side, it's vortexing in rivers. So
Hmm.
what structures it is a vortexing pattern, magnets, magnetic energy from the earth, or magnetic,
Hmm.
minerals are magnetic,
Yeah.
oxygen. So sunlight, vortexing, magnets, minerals. That's what structures water. And so I think in
Hmm.
your bodies are like rivers. I write this in the book. Think of your body as just a microcosm of the earth, which is a macrocosm. It's doing the same thing. So and blood's mostly water. So it
Right.
spins. So water, what's the word? The blood's mostly water. So it's basically structuring water in your body. That's all it's doing. And the more structured water you have, probably the longer you're going to live. And I've read books on this. This is not everything you do on the red side of my model is destructuring the water. Everything you do on the
Hmm.
green side of my model is structuring it. And as I write in my book, the DNA molecule is encased in a sacred geometric pattern of water molecules. The structuring and the complexity, like they're like crystals, liquid crystals. The more
Hmm.
complex and the more intricate these crystals are, the more information they can store. So the DNA molecule is encased in a sacred geometric pattern of water molecules. When I read that, I was like, holy shit, that's incredible. That
It's
whoever
pretty
created us,
cool.
yeah, it's a sacred geometric pattern it's
Hmm.
encased in. And so when you, like Dr. Emoto, in my book, I read about this, he did those experiments. A lot of people think he was a fraud, which he's not, but he would say, I love you to the water, and there'd be these beautiful crystals. We heard about that guy? And he made
When
those
you freeze
beautiful,
the water.
yeah, these beautiful
Yeah.
crystals. Yeah. And then we said, I
That's so
hate you.
interesting.
The crystals were all misshapen. Why? Because
Hmm.
it's all energies. And the water is reacting to the energies, the electromagnetic energies and the light energies. And it's either creating more crystals or destructuring them.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And so there's a lady called Veda Austin, who your listeners could look up. And she has done thousands of experiments expounding on what this guy did, Emoto. And she was really interested in water too. And she's like, okay, what's this doing? So same thing, she freeze stuff, flash freeze it, and then see
Hmm.
patterns in the water. So she one time she played, these are what I remember, she played this Stairway to Heaven song, and in the water next to it, she froze it and she pulled it out of the freezer, and there was a stairway in the water.
No way.
The water's communicating, that's saying the water, yeah, communicates through everything. That's how it communicates and stores information.
Mm,
And so, and the water is everywhere. If your 99 out of 100 molecule approximately is water. So you might be
mm.
70% by weight, but 99 out of 100 molecules are water. There's water in the air. Josh.
Hey, we lost you for a second there.
Yeah, was that my side or your side? Because I got full bars. Okay, you're still there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're good.
Sorry about that. So anyway, yeah, so she froze that and then it's showing these pictures, but she's done hundreds of thousands of experiments like this. And one of the most interesting ones was she asked her cat if it wanted to go in or out of the house. And then she had some water next to her and she froze it and then took it out of the freezer. And in the message in the water it said in.
Wow, that's
I mean,
wild.
can't explain that. Can't explain
Yeah.
that. So I'm convinced it's water stores everything and memories and everything. It doesn't matter. And so that's, and so when you do the things on the red side of my model, you destructure this water, kind of like the Emoto's experiments, kind of like her experiments. And then you can't store as much information in the light. Light can't store as much information. And they're starting to understand through quantum biology that information's lost first, and then pathology starts, which would make sense because the information can't be stored
Hmm.
anymore.
Wow.
Because first of all, you're chronically dehydrated for everything on the red side. So
Mm,
you have less water to store the light information in. And the other problem is the double whammy is it's not structured. So it can't even hold
right.
on to it.
What kind of information is contained within the light?
Everything, everything from what am I writing in my book? The whole, if water could talk, you would understand the entire history of the universe in one drop of water. So basically, when the water is structured, it's like, how a beehive, how hexagon, they have the hexagon shapes like that, right?
Yeah.
Right, they fit together perfectly. So in every structured water molecule, let's say, you have these hexagon shapes. And then on each, when they structure together, they actually become they become a negatively charged. So
Mm,
the way the atoms are arranged, you get a net negative charge. So the more structured water you have in the body, the more antioxidant capacity you have. So when people talk about eating berries, oh, for anti blah 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 about bullshit about berries,
mm,
your body is the biggest. It's one big antioxidant machine because all the structured water is antioxidant. Then earthing, I talk about earthing in my book, grounding
yeah.
is, the same thing, all those electrons. So your body is constantly an antioxidant machine. But when you have more chronic inflammation and you get older, you lose the structure, you lose the antioxidant capacity. So why does a kid have so much energy and they don't get sick? Because they're basically one big antioxidant making machine because they
And
have tons of
everything's
structured
functioning
water.
properly.
And they have tons of structured water. And the
Yeah.
older you get, the less you have because you have chronic inflammation, chronic dehydration, chronic more in the mitochondrial function. And the mitochondria is what makes what makes most of the structured water. It's the mitochondria. So a byproduct of metabolism is carbon dioxide, water, and energy. That water it's making is structured water. You have less
Mm,
mitochondria, you have less structured water. That's why exercise is so important. Trainers don't even know this. They always talk about, oh, you got more, you can, burn more, your muscles are more able to burn fuel and are more, active, or what they call it, a more not active, more metabolically active. You have more muscle,
Right.
you burn more calories. You're not burning more. That's bullshit. It's not about that. It's about you have more mitochondria, which is more making more structured water, which is holding more
Mm,
light information. See, these are
wow.
revolutionary things no one talks about or knows about except a handful
Yeah,
of
I haven't
people.
heard about
No,
structured water and the
no,
impacts on your body.
no.
So structured water is found in nature, and it's also produced in your body or structured in your body. So how does it get destructured? Is it the way that water is
All
contained and running
with
through the
all it's all
pipes
yeah, yeah. So that
or the
right
right angles
angles,
and stuff?
yeah, destructure it, and unnatural frequencies, non-native electrical frequencies
Water
will
pumps
destruct.
and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
destructure it. Yeah, talking about, any energetics, right? That's why bad thoughts destructure
Yeah.
water because it's just everything is, and this is obviously proven from, Einstein, everything's energy. So all that's
Hmm.
destructuring the water molecules. Now, when I say destruct, they're coming together a billion times a second. They're not like going think and staying like that for an hour. If these
Yeah.
reactions are happening billions of times a second, trillion, whatever, and creating patterns and creating information. And a lot of skeptics say, well, how do you know this is happening? It's happening a billion times a second. How do you know it's not happening?
Right.
If your conscious mind saying this doesn't work, then in a response to your consciousness, so a skeptical researcher, well, you're right, he wouldn't say any structure where he goes, this is bullshit. You're right, because you don't believe it. So there you go. So you know what I'm saying? It doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not, what's the word? Not fact, it's not, what's the word? It's dependent on the observer, right?
Right.
So
It's
you
almost
can't
like the
say,
placebo effect.
yeah, you
And
can't
if you
say it
believe
doesn't.
in something, something's going to help you, you get better.
Yeah. So if you don't believe it
It's
exists, then
really,
it doesn't exist for you.
it's really powerful.
Yeah. So that's how strong. So and that's why, um, and like my one of my idols, Dr. Zach Bush, says that 80 or 90% of the population in the world is dehydrated chronically. It's because of all those things on the red side that we're doing, and they're not drinking structured water because they don't even know about it. And they're
Yeah.
not, and just to bless waters helps to structure it, right? So think
Mm,
about your positive energies is gonna create better crystals than the minerals. The minerals is what water structures around. So think of a snowflake when it's falling from the sky. It structures around a piece of dust,
yeah.
mineral, right? So that's what creates these beautiful intricate patterns. So the dust is basically a mineral. So minerals are not necessary. Well, let me rephrase that. Everyone thinks that minerals are like this incredible thing. Yeah, they are. It's not food though.
Mm,
It's something for water to structure around. That's why electrolytes are so important because they're charged minerals. Then the water structures around that.
I was going to
So
ask you, how do electrolytes play a role
that
in the
that's
water, the
it.
structured water and staying hydrated?
Yeah, because the minerals, water structures around minerals. And if you don't have the minerals, it's not in the soils because the soils have been over farmed, and it's not in the water because the water is, polluted, whatever, it's not gonna fall out of the sky. So
Yeah.
I go myself and bottle my own water in a natural spring because I know how important it is. It's
Hmm.
that important for your life and health. It's that critical that
Wow.
you better find a natural source, get it tested, make sure it's okay. That's critical. It's not even a joke. That's not even up for debate. You better
Hmm.
be doing that. And if you can't do that because you can't find a natural source, then bless your water. Let me show you the structuring device I have really quick. Want to show it to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me get it.
Yeah. Well, Benjamin gets that. I'll mention that I did see this device on his website and looked really interesting. So I'm really glad that he's taking this opportunity to show it off and teach us more about it. I really had no idea that this structured water thing played such a big role in overall health.
Okay, so this is what this does. And the reason they want to get this one, you too, anybody, because this gentleman Robert Goulet, who I met at a water conference, really smart guy, very nice guy. He figured a way to structure water permanently, and he was asked by other scientists as a test to prove this. And so they this was years ago, and he said, "Okay, I'll prove this water stays structured permanently." And that was the test that he was out to prove, because a lot of structuring devices do not keep the water structure permanently.
Hmm.
That's another key that we need to understand is that a lot of these things on the market, because structured water is such a hot topic now, a lot of these things don't work permanently. Now,
Yeah.
his, he's done experiments on it, saying that proving it's permanently structured, and years later it's still structured. So, and he's a scientist. I trust him because I met the guy and some of the things he's done. Where I think he put, I think it was berries in water and in a structured water, and then a year later they were still good.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, that's how incredible it is. And this has the power to change the world, really, because if we could structure the water on fields, the growth would be astronomical in the fields on the grass. The cows would be healthier. This is
Mm.
just this is important for world health. Okay, so see this thing here?
Yep.
Okay, there are these two bottles. Now this is a portable one. It's called MEA. It's on my website.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get a whole house one. So the whole house one would just be this thing in the middle, but a lot bigger, and it goes into the middle pipe, like the main piping of your house, and it
Hmm.
structures the water. So it does kind of the same thing in the
It
house.
looks like one of those toys, those vortex toys that
That's
they used to
basically
sell.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And then, but the whole house want to do your whole house or shower. And this,
Yeah.
I live in an apartment, so I don't know. I'm not going to do it for my house, but I do it for my portable one. So you take it and you spin it over like this and kind of spin around.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah,
those water tornado
yeah.
toy things.
So it spins the
Interesting.
water around like that, just like in nature. And this thing in the middle has
Hmm.
magnets in it, has minerals attached to the inside of this thing. Now,
Ah.
the minerals don't have to be in the water, like physically, like I write in my book. It's energetics. So the
Mm.
energetics of those minerals are on inside that little centerpiece, that little gold thing. That's getting transferred, the energetics that's getting transferred into the water on the bottom, even though it's not physically getting minerals in there.
It's
Make
helping to
sense?
structure it. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
That's really fascinating.
yeah. And if people try any of these methods, I'm very confident they'll feel better. Um, I'm not saying it's to cure anything, but they will. Everyone I've helped with this, everyone that's worked with me, um, from my publishers to my family to my friends, one my old web guy, he had arthritis that got better. My stepmom, she had fatigue that got better. There's all kinds of things. I mean, it's it's something that people really need to know about, because some people are suffering and they don't know
Yeah.
why.
A
And
lot of
it's
people are
not,
suffering.
yeah, and it's not just about the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet's great, don't get me wrong. And I think the problem is that we can't eat vegetables anymore like we used to in the quantities we ate, or obviously the processed food, because we have two competing problems. We have the technology, which is
Hmm.
causing inflammation that we didn't have 30 years ago. And we have the mineral depletion of soil, which is causing problems. So thank God there's people doing regenerative agriculture. We're trying to fix these things. And Mother Nature is incredible at fixing stuff.
Yeah. If
I
you
was
let
reading
it.
this. Yeah, I was reading a story about, remember about the huge garbage dump in the ocean,
The garbage patch or whatever,
yeah,
the
and the size of Texas of garbage in the
yeah.
ocean. Well, there's actually plastic eating bacteria now. They're eating away at
Really?
that. Yeah, they're eating away at that slowly but surely.
Nature finds a way,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
Jurassic
So
Park.
I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So yeah, they can do anything. So yeah, so that's how that works.
Very cool. So yeah, I'd love to, dial down more on the carnivore diet. It is January, World
Yeah.
Carnivore Month. How long have you been on the carnivore diet?
Well, I started obviously regular diet like everyone. Then I went to low carb.
Yeah,
Then I went to keto, and then I went to carnivore. Pretty much.
it's usually
I've
how
been,
it goes.
yeah, probably strict carnivore, probably a year, probably maybe a little less. I don't know exactly,
Yeah.
but I realized I was eating stuff that was not good. Like I was eating right a lot of rice or quinoa. I remember
Mm,
when I was doing the low carb, I was eating quinoa, a lot more vegetables. I wasn't eating any
hmm.
processed food really. I stopped sugar for a long time ago, but I was
Yeah.
eating berries and whatever. And then I went to keto and then started eating way less vegetables. Then I started eating fermented vegetables because I realized that regular vegetables, there's no need to eat them ever, never, never, ever. Fermented ones
Yeah.
is a whole different story because the bacteria, that's why they're called fermented. The bacteria is already starting to eat them, starting to pre-digest them for you. And I read
Hmm.
something that the amount of vitamin C in fermented vegetables is like either 50% higher or 100%. I don't remember the numbers, but it's hugely higher because it's been
Yeah.
released by the bacteria as opposed to being contained in the plant fibers in a cellulose that you can't get to. And we're
Hmm.
not designed. That's the other thing. People, here's something really. Think about this one for a second, Josh, and you tell me if you agree. And when I was thinking, when I was writing my book, I was like, plants, they don't want to be eaten. Okay, they have defense chemicals that are, a million times more complicated and complex than we can possibly even understand. And I
Hmm.
thought, when someone eats a hot pepper or onion or even caffeine, the caffeine's not your friend. It's trying to
Right.
kill you. So speeding up your heart is a neurotoxin. It's not your
Hmm.
friend.
Yeah.
The reason it doesn't kill you is because you're not an insect. Same with a
You're a
hot
lot bigger
pepper.
than a bug.
Yeah, same with a hot pepper. The reason you start shaking and trembling and tingling, once again, it's trying to hurt you, not trying to
Hmm.
help you. An onion
Like
making
what
you cry.
Anthony Chaffee says, plants are trying to kill you.
Yeah, and it's not quite that dramatic, but they don't want they're not
Right.
they don't be eaten. So
Yeah.
I
And
don't get how I don't get how people
they
think
can't
that,
run
well,
away and,
no, they
protect
can't.
themselves like animals can.
No. And so why do these people think that, what's their excuse of, okay, well, if a hot pepper makes you sweat and cry and tremble, how could that be good for you? What do you how do you think that's not actually harming you? You know,
Yeah.
and it's funny because one of the doctors, a vegan doctor, was on something. He was saying, and he kind of put his foot in his own mouth. He's all, cinnamon. Cinnamon speeds up your metabolism. It's really good for you. No, cinnamon is a toxin. It attaches to receptors in the intestine, and it creates a stress response, which speeds up the metabolism. It's not the metabolism is speeding up for you to feel good. It's causing a stress response. So plants are actually pro-oxidant. For one of my other, people I really, really enjoy, Richard Smith, the keto pro, he says this. He goes, plants are pro-oxidant. The antioxidant capacity is from the studies that they're doing. The antioxidants ramp up in the body, and so when they're doing these studies and experiments, they use that as a parameter and a guidepost, so to speak, as a proxy. But
Hmm.
it's not that they're making it's your body's creating more antioxidants to offset the pro-oxidant problem of the plant.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I believe humans are omnivores, opportunistic omnivores, when there's no meat to hunt. Um, we can get by eating plants and, picking berries and stuff,
Yeah,
but it's really not the primary, source of nutrition that's optimal for our
no,
bodies. It's really
no, and
incredible how nutrient dense, beef can be. People don't
yeah,
realize it's a superfood.
yeah, and it's But what people don't understand is that I like this analogy too, is that the cow is taking undigestible stuff and turning it into digestible stuff for you. It's like your friend. It's like the cow is taking that grass, which you can't digest because it has 4 chambers to their stomachs and a
Hmm.
rumen and all these different things. And it chews for 18 hours a day because it's trying to get as much nutrition out of that grass as possible and putting it into its tissues. And I mean, it's a no-brainer. What? And I thought to myself, why would a cow need 4 stomachs for itself? What would be the reason a cow would need 4 stomachs for itself or any kind of ruminant, unless it was doing it for some other external reason, right? Them, they take the grass. Because why would a cow need to have 4 stomachs for itself? Who cares?
Because it's hard to break down grass.
Well, you can't break down grass as a human. But my
Yeah.
point is why would it do it unless the cow's doing that for us,
Hmm. Oh, it looks like
right?
Brandon's joining in.
Oh, that's cool. And so that's what I
There.
thought. That's what I thought to myself is that yeah, this is a cow is, and plus a cow when a cow eats an 80% saturated fat diet, you knew that too, right? Because the when they convert and they ferment the fibers into short chain fatty acids. So we are the only species on the planet that eats a high carb diet.
Yeah. And it's not natural. And it's causing all these problems. People need to realize that it's not good for you. And it can be eaten in moderation, but the majority of your diet should be animal based if you want to be healthy.
Yeah, it's that simple. And yeah, you say exactly. And what's great is that people like you and me and Dave Mack on YouTube, there's a lot of people are fed up and they're realizing, you know what, I'm gonna try this thing. My doctor's saying the high cholesterol is bad, blah, blah. Oh, and plus the high cholesterol thing is high cholesterol is he here?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not sure,
here.
Oh,
Brandon.
I'm having trouble
Welcome.
with.
Thanks for
Yeah, I can't
joining us.
always. It's like every time I come in here, I forget how to do the video. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
oh, there he is.
There he
Hey, there
is.
you go. Sorry about
Now,
that. It's
I'll
funny.
see.
Every time I open Zoom, it's like I forget how to turn on the video. I'm like, all right, now what do I do here?
I don't see Josh anymore.
No
Josh, you're still
worries.
there. Still there, Josh. Oh, there. Okay.
Yeah.
So cholesterol, high cholesterol. High cholesterol is caused by chronic inflammation, which is also obviously from my model and by default is caused by chronic dehydration.
Hmm.
So so you can eat you can eat all the meat you want, and if your cholesterol goes up, it doesn't mean it's because you have some form of inflammation somewhere. The body's trying to repair itself with the LDL. Another thing people don't understand, which is really, really important, is that when you're dehydrated, the body wants to hold on to the water in the cell, right?
Yeah.
So when you're hydrated, you have that structured water around. So structured water is like a layer around everything, around every cell, around every organelle in every cell. The mitochondria has
Hmm.
structured water. So it acts as a barrier, this like ice barrier, like around everything, protein, everything's so. And same with the cell membrane. So you have a phospholipid membrane, the layer, but what's surrounding is a structured water layer protecting it. So
Yeah.
when you are dehydrated, the body uses more extra cholesterol to seal the pores in the cell membrane.
Mm.
Which can make sense. That's why
Yeah.
inflammation and chronic dehydration causes higher cholesterol because the body is using more cholesterol to fill in the gaps on the cell membrane because it doesn't want to lose water out of itself. So it plugs the holes with more cholesterol because whatever all the things you're doing on the red side is causing chronic dehydration set 24/7. And so body's
Wow.
always trying to manage water all the time. And since people aren't doing things on the green side, it's always dehydrated, trying to manage this water. And then it's like, okay, we got to do this, we got to do this. And it's happening, all these things are happening instantaneously. Like, okay, I got to put more water here. I got to put more water there. I got to take water away from here, because it's trying to constantly keep, and plus with water, if you have chronic dehydration, the body leaves acidity and residues and waste products in certain places to make sure the water goes to other places that are more important, like your heart, your brains, your lungs. So your skin will get dehydrated, stuff builds up over there, because the water and the blood vessels are highways. The water is the medium taking all the nutrients to every cell, and then the water and the blood vessels are taking all the waste away from every cell. They're like highways, and every cell is connected by a capillary. What do I mean by that? All cells are connected by blood vessels. So every one of them, and so when you start damaging those capillaries, the cells start getting less nutrients and be able to take less waste away. And even the big blood vessels, like your aorta and all those blood vessels are not getting fed by the blood. Every one of those blood vessels has cells that are connected to capillaries too. So every cell has a capillary, a smallest possible blood vessel that's attached to it to give it nutrients.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when you start damaging those
really crazy
capillaries, you get neuropathy, you get organ starvation. There's something called a glycocalyx layer, which is a layer around all cells too, which you can discuss on another podcast. But all these things work together in a harmony that is just so, it's a symphony of amazing things. I just get really nerdy about it. I can talk forever about this because it just amazes me.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And I mean, going back to cholesterol, what I think a lot of people don't realize is that the cholesterol you eat doesn't necessarily reflect the cholesterol in your blood.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how critical cholesterol is for your overall health.
Yeah, they have no idea. And that's a good point you brought up. The cholesterol. So your body, if you don't eat it, it makes 3,000 milligrams a day, which is 3 grams. And so I thought to myself one day, I thought, okay, is it better to eat it or to make it? And cholesterol is an expensive process on the body. So wouldn't it be better to eat it so it's less work for your body to make it?
Yeah,
these
less
are
stress.
just common sense things to think about. I do a lot of thinking, as you can see. I have no wife, no kids. I do a lot of thinking. But it's, it kind of, it's helped me to understand this stuff. And so the other thing about cholesterol, which is critical, first of all, you said it does all these different processes. It does everything in the body. Not everything, but there's so many processes it's involved in. It's ridiculous. And one of the things it does, besides cellular hormones, obviously, it repairs damaged cells. What it does, though, it's part of the cell membrane, like we talked about, the cholesterol, so it fills in the spots when you get dehydrated, right? The other thing it does, which is remarkable, is it acts as a scaffolding to the cell receptors on the membrane. You've heard of insulin, right?
Yep.
Okay. So all these things are receptors on the membrane. There's like thousands of receptors on the membrane. There's a vitamin D receptor, an insulin receptor, this receptor, all these different things. So the receptors, think of them as satellite dishes. And then on the receptors, there's a thing called a glycocalyx that's on the membrane too, but these little sugar molecule chains that are kind of like a satellite, like these little finger things going off, and that's what senses everything around it. So that's the way they signal each other with these chains of things called glycocalyx, and they're like carbohydrate chains, right? So to make it really simple, besides plugging the holes, the cholesterol acts as a scaffolding for these receptors. So imagine a satellite dish sitting there. You got poles on each side holding the satellite dish up. The poles are the cholesterol. So when you have less cholesterol, unless you have only one pole holding the satellite dish up and another pole is not there, the satellite dish might not perform as well. Does that make sense? So there are these structural components that are helping the receptors function properly to do anything. And people want to lower it. I want to get as much cholesterol as I can get my hands on personally.
Same here.
Yeah,
Eating
it's
a
kind
lot
of
of
crazy.
ribeye, a lot of pigs.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it,
One of the
Brandon.
things that I wonder, so, and this really pertains to like pretty much all things related to the body, is, most of our research is funded by these corporations that have ulterior motives. And so we really don't explore a lot of these things. And it could even be because, and I'm not, who knows if it's true or not, but maybe they don't want us to uncover these things because they want us to keep buying the chips and they don't want us to be buying the meat and all this stuff. Like I saw this study yesterday I was reading, and it was in relation to cholesterol, and they did like a meta-analysis of people on carnivore diet, and it was self-reported, so the data is not considered super conclusive, but they found that everybody's LDL and HDL was increasing, which they're saying the increase in LDL is bad for you, but then they're also reporting that the people feel better, like they have energy, a lot of their symptoms for certain things have gone down, and it's just crazy to me that we're not funding research to figure out, like, all right, like, are we eating too much bread, or better yet, is our bread supply compromised? Because I think the bread that we have here is a lot different than the bread they're eating in like Italy or Europe or Asia,
Yes.
and especially I know for a fact our rice is, because, I spent the summer in Asia, and that was one of my big things, was I was eating rice 3 times a day, and I was like, man, I feel great. Like when I eat rice in America, I feel like crap. Like I just, I can feel my blood sugar spike, and like I can feel the crash. And out there, it's like, you eat a cup of rice and it's like nothing,
Yeah.
and,
So yeah, that's a
and
good point. It's a good point, Brandon. So yeah, so the thing is there's something that the pesticides and the herbicides in the soil obviously are really problematic here. And the yeah, that's probably why you feel better eating the rice over there. There's tons of preservatives and additives and chemicals and dyes over here that are banned in other countries, which is just absurd why they're not banned here. A lot of it's because of money, like you said, and a lot of studies, unfortunately. So people need to understand how these studies are done. Like you just said, they're self-reported. So a lot of these studies are what's called observational studies. What I mean by that, even the carnivore ones, and it doesn't matter what study it is. But so let's say someone says they ask you how much meat you had last year, and so you get a questionnaire. They give people questionnaires. They say, okay, so Brandon, how many burgers did you eat last year? How do you, what, I mean, how do I know? Or they ask you, how much pizza do you have? How many sticks of butter? How many carrots? Whatever it was, right? And so they ask for they ask it in arrears what you had before. Then they tabulate results and say that the meat causes disease because of whatever the factors are. But what about the bread? What about the soda? What about the fact the person lied or forgot? I mean, the fact these observational studies are even used at all is absurd. And they base anything off of these is absolutely absurd. And so you can't, so nutrition studies like Bart K says, they're useless. They don't measure anything ever because you can't control for all the confounding factors. And so even if they do a randomized controlled trial where they randomize people to certain diets and they do this and they have a control diet, how do you know how much stress someone's under? How do you know how much water someone's drinking? How do you know if they're nose breathing? You have no idea. So there's no possible way to control. And so you can say there's association between this or this, but there's zero causality, zero, and there never
Yeah, and
will
that's something
be.
that they don't talk about a lot, is that, correlation without causation. Because there's also, I mean, the genetical makeup of it as well. Like all of us respond differently to certain things. Like I know not too long ago I was reading these studies on, people's interactions with salt, and how some people actually have like mild salt kind of allergies, almost to where it can increase your blood pressure, and then other people don't. And so it's like these are just these different things, everybody's different, our backgrounds, like our ancestors come from different regions, different climates, and those are all huge factors when it comes down to how, eating an all meat diet or eating an all bread diet or all veggie are going to affect us.
Absolutely.
And yeah, a lot of our research just doesn't look at that stuff, and a lot of it is biased. I mean, most of our research, especially in the United States, is funded by big pharmaceutical companies that own big food companies.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so they only want to push us towards buying their products. I mean,
Absolutely.
as
So
evidenced by like our
you
ban list that you see with Europe and America, and I know they
yeah,
just banned the red number 3 or whatever,
that's
but
good. But
um,
you got to use your head. You got to use your head and start thinking and say, okay, does this make sense, or not? Should I be eating this? Should I not be eating this? If it's funded by this person, if it's all, if it's money is revolving around these things, let me just do my own research. And does this make sense? And what are the mechanisms? So if they say bread contributes to diabetes, what are the mechanisms? Well, the mechanisms are the blood sugar raises, causes chronic. So I know the mechanisms of that. I know why. Now with meat, what are the mechanisms on how red meat causes diabetes or whatever, Alzheimer's or whatever? The saturated fat causes some. Well, no. What are the mechanisms? I don't care about your study. You tell me the mechanistic ways, and then they'll use the one about TMAO. There's something called TMAO, which is found in meat, and that's problematic in the gut and causes oxidation and inflammation. No, it turns to TMAO when you have inflammation. So they kind of leave stuff out. They cherry pick these things, or they say something like new 5GC is in meat, and that shows to be causing, disease. They're like picking at straws.
Right.
And so, okay, that's fine if that's what you think. But there's millions of people eating carnivore diet who are healthy and getting better. So I think your hypothesis is wrong. So it doesn't really matter what you say, and not to mention ancestral been doing for millions of years. It's probably the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
and I
just
think
not
that
profitable to do those kinds of studies. And it's, there's too many factors to really dial into that. But getting back to the carnivore diet, Brandon, before you jumped on, Benjamin was saying how he's been on the carnivore diet for a year, about a year, strict carnivore. And I have to say, Benjamin, you're looking great. Um, how are you feeling?
How old do you think I am?
Um, I'd say 50.
55. It's doing something good.
Yeah, yeah, you're looking great.
So yeah, and I've been on for a year, and yeah, sometimes I feel like it's too easy, not too easy, but why did someone tell me this a long time ago? That's what I'm kind of angry about. I lost my hair, when I was like 30 or something. I got a transplant, and I write about this in the book. It's like if I want to know about the carnivore diet, not all my problems have gone away, but a lot of things I suffered from when it happened. And one of them is by losing my hair. And a lot
Mm,
of men hopefully will understand this. And what I'm going to say here is that genetically is 1%. So, and the male pattern baldness, they say it's genetic. No, it's an autoimmune condition, just like any other autoimmune condition. And I learned that from Dr. McDougall, who has passed away, but he was very adamant about this, saying, no, this is an autoimmune condition. And what do I mean by that? All the things causing inflammation are contributing to high DHT levels. And I remember, when I was reading about hair loss and how DHT gets elevated in men who lose their hair, and then DHT starts to make the follicles weaker and weaker. Well, I thought, well, why? I always ask the question, why? Why are the DHT
yeah.
levels raised? Why are they raised? Do you know why they're raised? The DHT
I
levels
don't even know
raised.
what DHT is.
DHT is a hormone that's a byproduct of testosterone. So men
Okay.
lose their, so they get a lot of DHT. An overabundance of DHT is made in the body, and that they think
Hmm.
that's what contributes to hair loss, or one of the things. And so DHT, the reason a bunch of DHT is made is because DHT acts as an antioxidant. So when you're eating, which doing the things on the red side of my model, like I was doing when I was 30, eating carbs and, mouth breathing, I was creating massive inflammation. And so no wonder I lost my hair, because that was the place, that's the autoimmune condition I quote unquote got. So that's what that attacked my body in that way. As someone else might get some kind of gut problems or this or that, I had, so if I would have done that, so there's a very, very small component that's genetic, but the rest of it is inflammation, which is chronic inflammation, which is everything. And so it's personal
All
to me
leads back
too.
to that.
Yeah, it's personal to me. That, God damn it, I had asthma when I was younger. That was because I was mouth breathing, partly, not all of it. But all these things, why did someone tell me, my doctor couldn't have told me to keep my mouth shut? Well, they didn't know. They didn't know. And I think what's bothersome, not bothersome, but it kind of astounds me is that, I mean, how many doctors, I know they're busy, but thank God there's some doctors that think outside the box. You go, wait, why is this happening? And the other one's like, I don't know, let's just give some pills. It's like, that's their job, is to think about these things, I thought.
I mean, most of our medical industry, especially out here, is compromised. And it starts at the schooling level. Like our schooling is all doctored, everything's doctored to push a certain narrative, I mean, you see that in some of the biggest fields, like with cancer research and stuff like that, where it's none of it's designed around fixing anything. It's just about making money and managing symptoms,
But people are fed up. But people are fed up, and that's the thing, is that too many, so many people are going, this is not right. Getting cancer left and right, people getting sick. They want to know answers, and so so things are going to change in the next years or whatever, because it can't keep going this way, because people are fed up, and it's built on a foundation of cards that's going to fall apart, and it's just not, people are just, they don't want to be sick anymore.
Yeah,
one out of two
people are
people
waking
get
up.
cancer. Yeah, like, I don't, I'm gonna try whatever I can to get better. And with my model that I made, it's just a framework to understand their health better on a more holistic way, and to try these other things, like the sun. Like Brandon wasn't here when we were talking. Me and Josh found us sun gazing. Just go out in the sun in the morning and night, and then see what benefits that provides. I mean, it's just, you'll just be like, what the heck? How'd that happen?
Yeah.
And the sun,
In addition to all the benefits you mentioned earlier, I mean, also circadian rhythm is really set by that low sun angle, telling your body, what time of day it is and helping you sleep better.
Yes, and that's an important point too, is that going out in the morning sun and sun gazing, right when the sun's coming up over the horizon, and at night, same thing. You're setting your biological clock, like Josh, you're saying, it's your circadian rhythm. So it's telling your body, okay, I went out this morning. There was no sun out here this morning because it was cloudy, but the sun's still coming through the clouds. So that's setting my biological clock for today. And at night, I'll do the same thing, and that'll set it for tonight to go to bed. And then these glasses are setting my, actually, I'm gonna take these off right now because it's during the day. But at night, you wear those because that's telling your body it's nighttime, period. And you should not, let me emphasize this again to your audience, you should not be getting blue light in your eyes at night at all, period. Never, ever, never. So if you're out and about, if you're out and about at night having dinner, you better be wearing those red light glasses. They're called Viva Rays. You can buy them on my website. I highly suggest getting these, man. It's critical. That blue light is causing our favorite word, inflammation. And so it's all these things together that are contributing to the problem.
So bringing it back to the carnivore diet once again.
Sorry going off topic. Yeah.
No, I love it. I really enjoy, diving deep into these other subjects. But last week, Brandon and I did a podcast episode where we spoke about Brandon's experience, his first time on the carnivore diet. At that time, I think it had been a week. And so now it's been another week. So Brandon, I want to just check in with you and
Oh,
see how you're doing 2 weeks in on the carnivore diet. How are you feeling? How are you doing with the diet? Are there any struggles? What have you noticed?
Yeah, so I'm going good. I definitely have gone through a few swings. I think I'm finding a better equilibrium right now.
Hmm.
So last week I had kind of discovered or at least started incorporating the electrolytes, and that
Yeah.
really made a huge impact. And so now I've gotten into a pretty good habit of making sure that I'm taking in enough salt, magnesium, and potassium and stuff like that. But then it was kind of funny. I swung a little too far with like cheese and stuff like that, and it was kind of messing me up.
Mm,
And so now I have gone back to where I only use cheese as like a snack. And it's like only a little tiny bit. And I
yeah.
don't know if it was just like the fat content or something in it, but it was definitely messing me up by eating too much cheese. And then I actually did do a cheat day as well. And it was kind of interesting to see how it impacted me. I ended up going into the city the other day with one of my buddies, and I went to this like Mongolian restaurant and had a little noodle bowl or whatever, and it was interesting to see the impact on it. So now it's been 2 days since that meal, and I actually feel a little bit better, like bouncing back. I feel like my resolve's a little bit better with choosing to do it again. And I've been doing a lot of research into it as well, like kind of wondering um, what exactly it is about the carnivore diet that causes a lot of these changes. And because it's easy. So when we talk about carbohydrates are just, they're so deep. There's so many different kinds of carbohydrates. I mean,
Mm,
we can talk about veggies, we can talk about bread, and we can talk about sugar. And when I think of the carnivore diet, I honestly, it wouldn't surprise me, and I hope that they come out with research with this, that like a lot of the impact that we're having on us is decreasing those sugars. I mean,
yeah.
I remember reading something not too long ago that was talking about diabetes and how, like, prior to a couple hundred years ago, like even 100 years ago, diabetes wasn't a thing. Like, people
Mm,
didn't really get diabetes. Diabetes is the byproduct of eating too much food and like eating too much breads and eating too much carbohydrates. And it's just your body has a hard time with all that sugar. And so your insulin becomes unregulated, and so your body falls out of whack, because we're eating all
mm,
these carbs. And so, it's like I look back through history, and because that's kind of what we're doing with the carnivore diet, is we're trying to go back to like our natural eating habits. And it's not even really that I think breads or any of those are really bad. I just think that eating meat should be our number one, and then controlling those sugars. And the problem in modern day society is that they put sugar in everything. Sugar is the most addictive, substance in the world, dude, at least in America. And they literally put it in everything, because of
yeah.
that addiction, like that dopamine hit you get from sugar, you know, and
can I
and it's
jump
just
in there
kind of
really quick?
crazy. I really wish there would be some research on that to find the correlation between, limiting your sugars through carbohydrates, and then seeing what kind of impact that has on your body. Because I know even in the microbiota as well, those sugars feed a certain type of bacteria in your gut, which proliferates, which can inhibit, your hormones, can inhibit all kinds of stuff, can cause anxiety, cause depression. And those are all caused from these bacteria that we're feeding through, this increase of sugar, in our food supply. And
Can I say something really quick there, Brandon?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's all correct. But let me expound on that a little bit for the audience listening, why the sugar is so detrimental. So sugar is not in of itself is not bad. Sugar is just a substance. What's it doing? So when you mix, I read this in my book. What happens when you mix flour and water together, or sugar and water together? You get a paste, right? So when you make paper mache, I think it's flour and water and salt or something to make paper mache. But you get flour and water mixed together, and you get a dough, right? Well, if your body or if your blood's mostly water, and I kind of came to this epiphany the other day, or not the other day when I was writing my book, same with sugar. So when you mix the two together, it gets thick. So the body's number one job is to keep the blood flowing. So the reason sugar is so bad, and the reason the body has to get rid of it instantaneously with insulin, is because if you don't do that, the blood will stop flowing. Now, what do I mean by that? So you'd have to eat a whole bunch of sugar, like a pound of sugar or something, for it to get that thick, right? Just let's say, but even, getting it a little thicker than it should be, it starts to get thick. It doesn't flow as easily. And so it's the automatic response of the body is to get that out, because otherwise, and same with flour. That's why bread and all those things, it's just sugar, and that it mixes with the water, and the blood gets thicker. And that's why diabetics have thicker blood. And I'm not just saying that. Look it up. Look up the studies. So that's why sugar is so bad. And you have hyperinsulinemia, high insulin levels, and because what's happening with the high insulin levels is that the high insulin in and of itself is not bad. It's signaling that there's too much sugar in the blood. It's like ding, 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 ding. That's an alarm going off saying, "Oh God, we got to get this out of here," because if it gets too thick, the blood, it's not going to flow. So it's
Won't get
always
into those capillaries.
no. It won't
Yeah.
flow. That's what people don't talk about. And so it's not, so that's why it either stores the sugar as fat, it excretes it through the kidneys, excretes it through the feces, it burns it in the mitochondria, because it's got to get rid of it. It's like, dude, we don't need this. This is not good. We got a tiny bit of stuff, but when you're eating 300 grams of this stuff, it's a constant alarm bell going off every single hour of every day, going ding, 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 ding. We gotta get out of it. We gotta get stuff out of the blood. The difference between diabetes and non-diabetes is 1/2 a teaspoon of sugar in the blood. That's it.
Not a lot.
1/2 a teaspoon, not even a teaspoon, 1/2 a teaspoon.
I mean, how much sugar do you think the average American eats on a daily basis? Like, you think they're like a gram plus in some cases?
A gram, try more like 300 grams.
You think
It's like
so?
35
I mean, I
grams
know
of
with
sugar in one
because you're
12-ounce
talking
soda, I think.
sodas and stuff like
No,
that, and sweets.
200 grams minimum. Someone's
That's
eating a thing from Starbucks. That's probably 75 grams of
Oh,
sugar
wow.
right there.
Yeah.
And then they eat some
Frappuccino.
pasta. Yeah, they eat some pasta at lunch or
I
a
was thinking those
sandwich.
were milligrams. You think those are
No,
grams?
they're grams.
That's crazy.
They're grams. So think about what the body's doing. Brandon, it's going, dude, we got to get this out, man. This is an emergency. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
That's
just
what's
insane.
That's what's going on. And so
The chronic
that's
stress.
why, yeah. And so, but what's interesting is, as my model shows that me and Josh talked about, it's not just the food that's causing the diabetes and the high insulin. It's the inflammation, which is being caused by the phone, caused by the stress, caused by the lack of sleep. So your stress can contribute to diabetes
Mhm.
because it's causing inflammation, and that inflammation is causing higher blood sugars. So it's all a big circle. That's what I figured out when I wrote my book. It's all a circle. It's all the things are happening instantaneously all the time, trying to regulate themselves all the time. They're all trying to regulate themselves all the time, instantly.
Yeah. It's a lot of contributing factors. So
Absolutely.
Brandon, was there anything else you had to report on your results with the diet so far?
No, I'm liking it. I definitely feel pretty good about it. I mean, my energy levels have balanced, especially now that I've incorporated the electrolytes. I fell into a pretty good routine. It is definitely a more expensive diet versus a lot of other things, but I've gotten good at it, and I've gotten pretty rounded. Like, I picked up some fish today, which is good. I think incorporating more fish is probably going to be a good aspect of it. But I still
Yeah.
generally eat ground beef. My breakfast every day is just ground beef and eggs,
That's perfect.
and I
That's
actually really
good.
like it now. I've gotten used to it because, and ground beef is a really great source of fat. So I'm like, all right, this is because I get 80/20.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, this is pretty good. Good start to the day. At first it was kind of weird, but now I've gotten used to it.
Brandon,
Nice.
back to the minerals though. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
So back to the minerals. No, I eat ground beef and I eat bacon and eggs, or ground beef and eggs in the morning. That's all I eat too. So I eat the same thing every day. It makes it easy. I don't have to worry about thinking of a meal. But back to the minerals. what you want to do is get something called fulvic and humic acid minerals. They're on my website. Basically, yeah, Josh. So why is that important? Because this fulvic and humic acid is something made by the microbes in the soil. And when the soil was fertile a million years ago, plants grew to, a tree, a bush grew to, 50 feet tall because the topsoil was like, I think 30 feet thick or something ridiculous like that a million years ago. And now it's 1 inch thick. Why is the topsoil important? Because that's where the nutrients are, most of the nutrients. So with 30 feet thick, you can imagine the amount of nutrients in there. So what they did was they started to mine this stuff from prehistoric ancient beds, river beds or lake beds, where the soil was, had these minerals. And so they would mine this stuff and they put it in capsules or liquid form where the soil had all the nutrients in it. All these you're talking about electrolytes, it had all the minerals, trace minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, everything's in the soil because the soil is so depleted now. You have to do that. Otherwise, because if you take a mineral supplement of magnesium, which is, obviously you need magnesium, calcium, all these things, something like molybdenum or vanadium or something, some of these other ones are not well known. They're not there for the heck of it. They're there because they support a bodily function. And just because they're not, people don't know about them, doesn't mean they're not necessary. I think there's 60 trace minerals that nobody even talks about. And so what's my point? My point is that the fulvic and humic acid is produced by these bacteria, these microbes, and then those are in the soil because they basically chelate these minerals from the soil and put them into their body, their bacteria, into the microbes, and then those are fed to the plants, right? So these microbes are basically have all the minerals in them because they have basically dissolved the minerals into their structure, and then and they use something called fulvic and humic acid, this complex that holds them, and then they feed that to the plants, take that through the root system. And that's how the plants get their minerals. And when the soil is overfarmed, those microbes aren't there. The plant can't get these minerals except the ones that are basically sprayed on them from, like, I think it's NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, right? Those help it grow. But it'd be like you eating fast food. Just because you're growing doesn't mean you're healthy. So fulvic and humic acid are critically important for your health. And I've done tons of research on it. They're like the most potent antioxidant electrolyte out there. They detoxify the cells. They bring the cell nutrients. They take waste away from the cells. They make everything function optimally. Yeah, it's amazing stuff. Look up fulvic and humic acid if you want to learn some stuff about how amazing this particular substance is. But I highly recommend you take that as a supplement for minerals. It's absolutely critical.
Yeah, I haven't heard of those. Definitely have to look into it some more.
I haven't looked into those at all either.
Yeah, look into those. They're super important. And back to your carnivore diet too. You might feel, you say you're feeling great now. It takes a little while. The fact that you jumped right into it, congratulations. It took me like 3 years to go from low carb to carnivore. And I stepped down from low carb to keto to carnivore. So if you start feeling anything, like your stomach or whatever, don't worry about it. It's going to take a little while for the body to adjust to, like Josh says, yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned last week on the episode that we did people need to start slow and kind of get their body used to it. And Brandon has been increasing his protein, over the past few months. So I think that's really helped him adapt to it. But
Yeah,
I've
I
been
think we
feeling
first
great.
started talking about this a while ago.
Yeah,
Sorry for interrupting.
I did the carnivore diet for the first time last year for World Carnivore Month, and took a little bit of time to adjust and get used to it. And then after I pretty much did animal based which was, mostly meat and animal products. And then I would eat, some fruit as well. And so this year I wanted to do it again to kind of restart my metabolism and my health, after the holidays, kind of going a little off plan and just enjoying myself. Time, with friends and family is really important. So I'm feeling great, and I, aren't having any issues in the bathroom like I did last year. Got a little blocked up, but I think just eating enough fat is really helping me with that. And yeah,
It's
I've
fun.
been
Speaking of
making a
that,
lot of
yeah, go ahead.
poached eggs recently. I hard-boiled eggs are great, but it's a real pain in the ass to peel them. And so what I've been doing is hard poaching eggs, and then I'll just keep them in the fridge, grab one, sprinkle some salt on it, and it's a great snack, to have in between meals or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. And speaking of what you're saying about bathroom problems, um, the reason, one of the reasons people have all these gut issues all over around the world is because of chronic dehydration. So remember, go
Yeah.
back to my mom. It's the same. It's just everything's related. So I read this in my book. I made this really good analogy. Think of the intestines as a water slide, right? Because they're being irrigated constantly with water from the pancreas, and
Hmm.
it's producing, the pancreas actually produces something called sodium bicarbonate, which irrigates the intestines, right? And that's its main job. Insulin's not even its main job. Everyone talks about insulin. No, its main job is to make this watery solution to irrigate the intestines, so
Mm.
they're not dried out. So imagine going down a water slide with no water.
Ouch.
Okay, it would hurt. It would start. You get rug burn. You get irritated. It start getting inflamed. You bleed. That's the same thing happening in your intestines when you're dehydrated. So all the things, if you're doing the things on the red side, you're chronically dehydrated, you're more likely to have IBS or conditions because the intestine is not sufficiently irrigated. So imagine the stool going through there, screeching along, the causing irritating the lining of the small intestine because it's not enough water in there. Not to mention the
Yeah.
structure, not to mention the structured water layers breaking down, because
Hmm.
that's that smooth layer protecting everything like a slippery so basically structured water is like fish scales. How slippery a fish is, you can't hold it.
Mm. Right.
That's how slippery structured water is. So imagine that slippery water layer in your intestines. Everything's going to go fly right through there. When you're dehydrated, you lose that structured water layer. It's going to start creaking along, causing irritation. I said I do a
Yeah.
lot. I do a lot of thinking.
Definitely sounds like it.
Because I'm just it just all this stuff interests me. It's like I always go why, and so I always dig down to the next why. So why would this happen? So why would that irritate the gut lining? So why would that cause the body to send out inflammatory signals? Because everything has an answer, really. Most
Yeah.
things have an answer. And so I always like to dig to find the answer. And if I can't, and then I hypothesize, put two and two together, and then, check that against something that is, I go, a research study or whatever, go, yeah, I'm right.
Definitely. So, Benjamin, you have a podcast, the Ultimate Health Model podcast as well. Where can people find your podcast?
Just Ultimate Health Model Podcast. Yeah, it's just Ultimate Health Model Podcast. And then we're on Instagram, at Ultimate Health Model on Instagram. We're on TikTok at Ultimate Health Model. And I suggest they go there because they're gonna, like we've talked about for the last 2 hours, they're gonna hear stuff that they probably never heard before as,
Yeah.
today. Yeah. So it's not the same old cookie cutter advice that's not working. So, you know,
Right. Yeah, I was checking out the other day, and I noticed you had Dr. Robert Kiltz on your first episode.
yeah, you know Dr. Schultz?
I do. I follow him.
Oh yeah, have you interviewed him?
I haven't.
Oh yeah, interview
I
him.
was going to ask you how you got hooked up with him.
Yeah, all we can talk off air, but we'll talk about that. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's one of the people that
Very
said about,
knowledgeable.
oh yeah, he's one of the guys that said about my book was one of the best books on the subject.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a very good, great compliment from such an established, person in the carnivore space.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Very cool. So what other podcasts do you enjoy listening to besides Health Unfiltered?
Oh, I don't listen. I do a lot more reading, and
Yeah.
I like to read stuff, to try to learn stuff, and there's so many podcasts out there, and the problem with a lot of them, I don't believe them
Mm,
because my knowledge is so different. So if someone's talking
right.
about, eat less, move more, or a YouTube channel, I'll watch it, but it's kind of like, man, I don't think that's correct because it's a lot of information out there is wrong, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So yeah, so I kind of pick and choose what I watch, but I do more. I'm always working, trying to get my name out there, promote things, and it's kind of like you. It's always a constant grind.
definitely. What about you, Brandon? Are you listening to anything interesting right now? Any good pods out there?
Not really. No, I'm more of a reader as well, but I do want to get more into podcasts. More and more people are talking to me about it. Like I just had one of my bosses talk to me about like the Mind something podcast or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can't remember the name of Mind Pump maybe. He was talking to me about something on there, but I haven't checked it out yet.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah, I
listen to those
definitely read
guys.
more than I do podcasts.
Yeah, that one's more about fitness and exercise, which is great. People need
Oh, have
to
you checked that
know.
one out?
Yeah, yeah, I listen to them from time to time. A lot of it's geared towards like other coaches, coaching people and stuff, but they've got some good information out there. Um,
It's
I'm
funny.
trying to think of.
I used to listen to talk radio a lot back in the day, like
Oh yeah.
NPR and stuff like that, and so
Hmm.
that's why I know I would definitely get into listening to certain podcasts, but yeah, I just the same, there's just so much information on the internet, man. I a lot of times prefer to do my own research. That's why I like talking about this stuff though. I like the dialogue because for me, like the exploration of knowledge is all about the dialogue, is like, all
Hmm.
right, are we in pursuit of truth or are we just trying to argue our own points, and yeah, so that's why I
Yeah.
like reading. It's good.
I like listening to the Plant Free MD, Anthony Chafer's podcast.
Anthony,
He's very
yeah,
knowledgeable. He's a
yeah.
great guy, great resource.
Who's really great. He's not necessarily a pod. He's not a podcast. It's Ken Barrett. Like I said
Yeah.
earlier, yeah, you have he seems like the nicest guy, just the most down to earth Southern gentleman. Like I said, I learned a lot about my book from him, and
Hmm.
Bart K. When I first was writing my book, he's not a doctor or he's a scientist, but that guy, he knows virtually everything. I won't say virtually everything, but the amount of stuff that guy knows. Um, it's funny because he has vegans on there, or he'll talk to a vegan, or he'll critique a vegan talking to a carnivore doctor, and you just learn a lot about what the science actually says, and
Mm.
using your own common sense to
Yeah.
understand these things.
Yeah. It's really helpful when they break down that high level scientific stuff, make it more understandable. And just like in your book, you lay it out in layman terms and more of a conversational kind of thing than just spitting facts out. It
Yeah.
can be really helpful to digest that high level information. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you guys want to discuss before we wrap it up?
I think,
Think
yeah, I think that's good.
think I'm good, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your
Great.
time.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
glad I
this
was
was a
able to
really
catch a
great
little bit of it.
conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
better late than never. We're glad to
Yeah,
have you, Brandon.
yeah.
So yeah, Benjamin, where can listeners get in touch with you?
So they go to ultimatehealthmodel.com, find us, except on Instagram, we're at Ultimate Health Model. We are at Ultimate Health. Just remember Ultimate Health Model because a year from now, everyone's going to know that name anyway. So yeah, so it doesn't even matter. But it's just that's an ultimate health model. Wherever you see that name, I own it. I trademarked it, so it's mine. So that's anytime you see that, if it's not Benjamin Smith, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, yeah, I'd love to have you back on again. There's
Absolutely, that's a
definitely
lot
a
of
lot
fun.
more we can get into.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thanks again. And that's it for now. Bye, everybody.